We're here in downtown Hartford with the old state capitol behind me, and we are going to witness history. This is the start, the place of the plan to capture Fort Ticonderoga. Very excited to listen to new history, learn some things, and check out that cool building. Huh, that is neat. Yeah.
Toast! Alert! March!
So we're here today specifically, this is the first, as I said, of our commemorative events for the 250th. And on April 28th, 1775, a meeting was held and 300 pounds were committed, money, from the legislature. We know how hard that is. To capture Fort Ticonderoga.
With 300 pounds of cash from the Treasury, Captain Mott, Captain Phelps, and Mr. Romans headed to Salisbury with 3 to 5 additional volunteers. There, their party was increased to 16, and in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, another 50 enlisted in the enterprise. Along with some 100 Green Mountain Boys, led by Captain Ethan Allen, and the New Haven Company, led by Benedict Arnold, the group was able to take over Fort Ticonderoga by surprise and without loss on May 10th, 1775.
I will be carrying this replica powder horn with me. I replicated it myself, and I will be inscribing it with the names of the towns on the route of the expedition. The taking of Fort Ticonderoga was an example of intercolonial cooperation without which the revolution would not have succeeded. When I read about the expedition, especially in the journals kept by some of the men, I am struck by how bold and improvised the whole operation was, and how it depended on stealth, democratic cooperation, and successful intelligence gathering, complete with an American spy, Noah Phelps, of Simsbury, posing as a peddler in need of a shave. You can see that a gathering here in Hartford 250 years ago started a line of dominoes falling across Connecticut and up through the Berkshires and into Vermont, splitting into different roads, converging on Castleton and Shoreham, and knocking down Fort Ti a mile across the lake in New York. It was a movement of men who were themselves moved by the ideals of liberty and self-governance. Their resourcefulness and courage continue to inspire us today.
Now those were some inspiring speeches about the capture of Fort Ticonderoga. And with our powder horn in hand, we departed Hartford, bound on the same route that Colonel Mott and his men took, through Connecticut, through Massachusetts, and through Vermont to Fort Ticonderoga. Our first stop on our journey to Fort Ticonderoga after leaving Hartford is Salisbury, Connecticut. Here we stopped at the old schoolhouse, now the Historical Society, for a wonderful tour, a look into the history, and an actual cannon used in the Revolution. Once Jonah carved the name Salisbury into the powder horn, it was on our way to the next stop. Once we left Salisbury, we crossed the border into Massachusetts for our next stop of Sheffield, Massachusetts.
We have now made it from Hartford to Salisbury, and now here we are in Sheffield.
You're in Sheffield at the home of Dan Raymond, who was a Tory. And people didn't like him all that much. And he was noted for cutting down the Liberty Tree.
Oh, no!
So just recently, a week or so ago, we had the 8th graders from Monterey Regional School come and put up their own Liberty Tree.
Awesome.
And with their symbols of resistance, which were the Sheffield Resolves, which took place in our meeting house, which is the church. And then they did 2 flags to represent what liberty meant to them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's take a look. Come on.
Yeah.
Once we got to Sheffield, we met people from their local historical society as Jonah once again carved the name Sheffield into the powder horn. The people of Sheffield also have raised this lovely Liberty Pole, with local students contributing to it. And once we were done in Sheffield, it was on to Pittsfield.
Hip hip, huzzah!
We're standing here at the site of Easton's Tavern. This is where Ed Mott met with James Easton to continue gathering forces for the expedition to Ticonderoga.
Now that we're leaving the spot, we are on our way to Bennington! Huzzah! Yes, that's right, on our way to Bennington, but we have to make a quick stop in Pownell first.
Gather round! Gather round! Everybody, gather round! I have something I need to say. We need to rally together with Ethan Allen and his forces, and we need to go and take Fort Ticonderoga now. Why? A British fort? Yes. It is lightly guarded. The spies have informed us that it is lightly guarded, and they have cannons, they have ammunition, they have rations. This is our time in this point in history. Look at what they did at the Boston Massacre. Look at what we did in Lexington and Concord. We can beat them. Yes, we can.
Fool! You're gonna be tarred and feathered when you're caught.
This started in Hartford, Connecticut, and has been journeying up, and will go all the way to Ticonderoga.
General Washington, he's got his boys on a sweep and run. Barefoot boys are willing to fight. They're gonna cross the Delaware tonight.
Once we left Pownell, it was on our way to Bennington, where Colonel Mott was destined to meet Ethan Allen.
Colonel Allen, I presume. Captain Edward Mott of the colony of Connecticut, here to find the commander of the Green Mountain Boys.
You see him before you, Captain Mott. I was told you were on the way with some good news?
Some pay in my pocket for your Green Mountain Boys, you mean? Yes, thanks to the Treasury of Connecticut. You're a Connecticut man too, I know.
A man of the New Hampshire grants and these Green Mountains.
We expect you to muster your Green Mountain Boys.
A wise decision. The way I see it, the boys and I are your best hope for success. Thanks to years of struggling with Yorkers trying to claim our land, we have become an efficient and feared militia. I've already put out word to them, and I am pleased we are moving forward with this expedition. The first systematic and bloody attempt at Lexington and Concord to enslave America has thoroughly electrified my mind, and I am fully determined to take part with my country.
Colonel Allen, let me remind you that part of America is already enslaved, as I am myself, to Stephen Fay, the owner of this tavern. I hope you will take part with us, too.
Like I said, Peg, we think alike. To the capture of Fort Ticonderoga.
To liberty and those with the spirit to assert it. Hip hip.
Now that Colonel Mott and Ethan Allen have met at the Catamount Tavern, it was time for them to continue their journey northward. But along the way, they were gathering more and more Green Mountain Boys to the cause and effort of capturing Fort Ticonderoga. They eventually made their way to Manchester, where a proclamation from the state of Vermont was read.
Whereas the Green Mountain Boys' bold action led to the capture of Forts Ticonderoga and Crown Point, the first major painter victories of the Revolution. Now, therefore, I, Philip E. Scott, Governor, hereby proclaim May 2nd through 9th, 2025, as Ethan Allen and the Green Mountain Boys Week in Vermont, given under my hand in the Great Seal of the State of Vermont on this first day of May, AD 2025.
After Manchester, they continued to Paulet, where local representatives were receiving the powder horn.
Honors are commemorating the early role of the gallant, heroic men of New Hampshire grants in the fight of American independence, the prelude to Vermont's admission as our nation's 14th state. And whereas Bennington County, the commemoration of the expedition to Ticonderoga, Ethan Allen, the Green Mountain Boys, and America's first victory includes public events celebrating these brave deeds of 1775.
Indeed, in Bennington, along with Ed Mott, a bold plan was hatched. And in Bennington, after that initial meeting where he has enlisted the Ethan Allen and the Green Mountain Boys, we have traveled northwards. We have traveled through the towns of Shaftesbury, of Arlington, of Sunderland, Manchester, and Dorset. So we come to you here today, now, 250 years to the day, almost exactly, from when we came all those years ago. Proudly carrying the ceremonial horn, we now are excited to pass it off to a representative right here in Paulet. To whom do I have the honor of giving it?
Platt Herrick, a descendant of Samuel Herrick of the Herrick Rangers and Green Mountain Boys, will accept the ceremonial powder horn.
Sir, it is my pleasure and honor to present you today with this ceremonial horn. I understand you will only have it a brief time, but for that time you have it, please accept this with our gracious thanks. Thank you.
And after Paulet, finally they made it to Castleton. On the eve of their bold plan, they enjoyed a modern-day rendition of the events that transpired 250 years ago.
Rise on eagle's wings and mount up to glory, freedom, and immortal honor, if she did but know and exert her strength. Fame is now hovering over her head. A vast continent must sink to poverty, horror, bondage, or rise to unconquerable freedom, immense wealth, inexpressible felicity, and immortal fame. To liberty and those with the spirit to assert it. Hip hip, huzzah! Hip hip, huzzah! Hip hip, huzzah!
And finally, at last, May 10th, 1775, we have made it to Fort Ticonderoga. Huzzah!
Welcome to Fort Ticonderoga. Today is May 10th, the 250th anniversary of the capture of Fort Ticonderoga, and the final step in our journey for our commemorative powder horn, which began its journey in Hartford, Connecticut, and from there traveled through Massachusetts and through Vermont, finally to Hans Cove, over Lake Champlain, here to Fort Ticonderoga.
Today we address one event, but I hope we will all spend the next few years exploring as many people and events as possible to better understand the 250-year-old ideas, connections, and stories that bind us today.
Today, the importance of history and civics has never been more important. We need to understand our past in order to preserve the freedoms that we fought for and established 250 years ago.